Now, whether or not Shannon Sharpe is guilty of what he's currently being accused of, I don't know. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to allow the courts to do what the courts do, right? Simple as that. I'll allow the evidence to speak for itself. However, I wanted to get into, I guess, a little more of a nuanced and a deeper conversation, not just getting into the tabloids of what's happening, but instead getting into almost the archetype or the caricature that Shannon Sharpe actually is, aka Uncle Shay Shay or Unc. Right now, for some of y'all who may have not been exposed to this dude before this case started unraveling, essentially, Shannon Sharpe has taken on this role, more specifically in the quote unquote culture or even, black culture, greater than even black culture, I think at this point. He's taken this role of Unc, i.e. uncle, right? He is everybody's uncle. He's everybody's favorite uncle. You tune in, you laugh, you have a good time, you listen in on stories. But when all is said and done, you have a sort of affinity and a trust for Unc. However, it turns out that Unc just so happens to be a freak, which is not always crime. In most cases, it's not a crime. Whatever you're doing behind closed doors is between you and the individual that you are consensually doing that with. However, when it comes to Unc, or this forever uncle, I'm going to call it that for now, the forever uncle, it is an extremely sad case of what happens to a man who never grows up. What happens to a man who never chooses to mature past the point of boyhood, of even adolescence for some, right? You are still the same little boy who started chasing tail, who just wants to get laid. Simple as that. That's what has become of Shannon Sharpe. And unfortunately, he is just a representation of something that I've not only seen within the black community, but, within the greater quote unquote community or the greater culture. This is something that is now being celebrated. It is being elevated. I mean, I remember a time when guys like George Clooney, before he was married, very much married, and dyeing his hair black and looking older now than he did back in the day when he had gray hair, but I digress. He would say things like, I will never get married. And basically he was the forever uncle, right? He was the forever bachelor, the forever playboy, whatever it may be. And the idea seemed cute in theory. It seemed real good, especially if you're a young man and you're listening into this, if you go into those red pill spaces, etc., the Andrew Tates of the world, the message looks good. Like most things that are presented or marketed to us, it looks good on the surface. But when you dig deeper and start to see that, wait a minute, this is actually a man who has no solid foundation, who oftentimes lacks sexual discipline. Therefore, he's going through life basically for one thing and one thing only, and that is to get the coot nanny. And so again, Shannon Sharpe has now allowed everything that he has worked for from the time he was a kid when he was becoming one of the greatest football players, or at least one of the greatest receiving tight ends, to then becoming essentially $100 million man when it comes to broadcasting and podcasting and sports commentary, etc. I mean, he literally was on the verge of signing a $100 million contract. I don't know if that's going to go through now, but his business is now being messed with. Disney, aka ESPN, is likely going to be letting this man go, and it's all because he could not control his sexual desires and urges. It's really as simple as that. So I want to get into I guess the video where he stakes his claim, right? He is giving his official press release to the public. This is what happened. This is what's going on. And this is where I stand in the midst of all this. Then I'm going to do a short little breakdown of that. And then we're going to get into a video that's really telling, that truly shows this man's mentality. And there's a host of these videos that are now surfacing. That's just the nature of when you do podcasts, you do content like myself. Everything will be used against you in the court of law, whatever that court may be, whether it's public opinion or in the actual courtroom. So that being said, let's get into clip number one.
Friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine.
Now, let me tell y'all something. First and foremost, the whole race card thing, played out. Stop it. Nonsense. You're only using now that it's convenient for you, especially a guy like Shannon Sharpe. Like, I have no problem with interracial dating. I actually think that we are one race, the human race, and, love who loves you. But it is no surprise that he is indeed addicted to the snow bunny. I'm actually going to be putting out a video that talks more just about that nuanced conversation. But he's addicted to the snow bunny, and now it's because I'm a black man that I'm being outed the way that I am. Here's this lawyer who targets, black men specifically. So that's number one. Number two is, look, again, guilt as far as admission of a crime. That's one thing. But guilt as far as like you're nasty, freaky, you're a gooner, whatever it may be, that's not necessarily hard to prove. I mean, if they go through your history on your phone right now, if they go through your text messages between you and whoever it is that you're communicating with in such a way, all you need is that real evidence to prove that you are guilty. Right now, there's audios and things of that nature that are in the ether right now. Do we know whether or not they're AI, real, fake? Not necessarily. They're not all verified. But I will say, because of what I've heard coming out of this man's own mouth and what we're about to get into after this clip, is that there is a likelihood that he is indeed that freaky, nasty, sort of perverted minded forever unk or forever uncle. So I just had to let that be known.
That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your imagine. That video should actually every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine.
Brother, if that's you in the tape, which is likely is 100% you in the tape, and you're talking about it's trying to make you look a certain way. Look, a tape is a tape. What you were doing in that tape is what you were doing in the damn tape. And this dude is talking about 30 seconds of it is extremely incriminating. And essentially every stereotype of a black man. Look, we already saw the text messages. Freak nasty. She was talking about she wants you to put a big black baby in her. And you let that fly. Now, folks may think a lot of things about me who know me and dislike me and think that I'm sort of sellout or whatever, but I'll be damned if I allow somebody to talk to me like that. That is 10 layers of crazy right there. That is wild. But continue.
That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is...
Shannon Sharpe is almost 60 years old. He is what, 56, I believe, right now? Let me see. Shannon Sharpe. Oh, Lord. I just put an S in there. We already know whose name is popping up. Okay. Yeah. We accept. Shannon Sharpe is... I need to start using voice activation. Yep, on the money. He is 56 years old. Dealing with she was 19 at the time. So he was 54 and she was 19. That's a whole different conversation I got into in the first video I recorded about this subject. But you're a 54-year-old man dealing with a 19-year-old OnlyFans girl. Like, there's no way I can feel bad for you, Sharpe. There's no way. You're no longer Uncle Shay Shay. Somebody said now you're nephew, because the way you're moving is like a child. You're an entire 50-year-old man with a 19-year-old, not just, church going, regular, whatever, good moral, good family. No, an OnlyFans chick. That's who you're dealing with. And you expect something good to come out of that situation as a $100 million man with damn near everything to lose in your career. Bruh.
Sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Okay, so is he guilty again? We don't know, but he's definitely guilty of being freaky and essentially being into much younger women. Again, if it's legal, sure, it's legal. But I guess the question goes into the morality, the ethics, and things of that nature. If that's a conversation you need to have with yourself, is that something you see as okay? Because if you do, then it needs to be equally yoked on the men's side as well as women. If it's not a problem with the women, then it's not a problem with the men. That's why the Tracy Ellis Ross, she's almost Shannon's age, 52 years old, dating younger men. How much younger? Who knows? But let's say she had a 19-year-old. It should be okay for both or not okay for both. I don't play those double standards. But anyway, let's get into the second clip, which is now resurfacing as obviously all of this is coming up. And again, mind you, this is one of those type of stories that's going to continue to unfold. And it's actually one that I'm interested enough in because of there's so much going on here. There's so many overarching themes that are taking place that I love to get into because I believe that these are teachable moments for all of us. Even me, just as a man, not just as a black man, but as a man, there's a reason why I establish myself in a certain way. Okay, when I'm in a place where I know that I'm financially stable enough to then, put a ring on my girl's finger, I did exactly that. And now we're in the process of marriage. Like, this is something that is extremely important to me. Doesn't mean I've been a perfect man through my life. Doesn't mean that I, wasn't running around and doing what I was at a certain point in my life. But I had to grow up out of that. I had to mature out of that. And by this point, a year removed from 30 years old, I'm 29 right now, is what matters in your life. Like, if you want to be a man who succeeds in the ways that matter to him, right? A man who is able to make things happen in the world as opposed to being a destroyer, to be a creator, to be productive as opposed to being destructive. If I want to be that sort of man, one of the stabilizing foundational pieces is relationship. It's who you lay up with, right? Who are you in relationship and why are you in relationship with that person? Stephen A. Smith, who is Shannon Sharpe's partner in crime, actually got him hired at ESPN. He basically was giving a statement that came from the top Disney's executives and a guy named Jimmy Pichero or something like that. What is it? Do I still have it here? Jimmy ESPN. Let me see if it pops up. Nah, they got all the basketball. Okay, Jimmy Pitaro, that's his name. Jimmy Pitaro is now one of the chairman or co-chairman or whatever the hell it is at ESPN. I looked up Jimmy and I said, I'm curious to know if this man is married or not. And surely enough, as a high-level executive, like most high-level executives, he's married, right? The likes of an Elon, et cetera, actually the rarity of it. When you get into everybody from, the Mark Zuckerbergs to the Larry Ellisons of the world, et cetera, these Fortune 500 founders, CEOs, et cetera, a tying link that you oftentimes see is marriage. Even Bezos, he was married, and I believe that he completely that up. He traded in a real woman for a plastic one. That's what he did. But I digress. So, the reason I looked that up is to say, okay, Shannon, you're 50 some years old and you're still choosing not to settle down. That's something of the culture. Like, what is the fear of a wife, a good woman, or whatever it is? And some dudes will say, well, you're a rich man, you're a wealthy man, they're going to play you for your money. How can you trust? Men are choosing not to get married because they don't trust. And trust me, I get it. I completely and absolutely get it. But the reality is, if we don't start to make the necessary changes within ourselves and then allow those changes to reflect into the world, i.e., we become what is necessary to be in that type of relationship. It's important for women to have wifey material or wifey traits, characteristics, as it is for the man to have husband characteristics. And those two individuals can come together and build something instead of this instant gratification culture. Hit it, quit it, stay, play. next. So anyway, that being said, we're going to get into the second clip, and this one's definitely going to be revealing. So let's go ahead and do that. Cue that up.
You tried to hit on me? I ain't got no money. I'm telling you, I ain't got no money. We gonna be back in Section 8.
That works for me. Shit. Hello.
Hey,
Section 8 saving up.
Hey, we be on the counter with that big old block of cheese with that knife trying to cut it.
Man, as long as we spending time together, I don't even care. Long as them kids going to school, they fat, I don't care. Like, I'm just happy with, like, spending time with my person. I'm telling you, like, that shit feel good.
Oh, little context. This is Young Miami, one half of the City Girls, i.e., the Sexy Red before Sexy Red, right? That's essentially who these individuals are. Oh, she was also Diddy's ex, Shawty Low, Shawty Boo thing. I don't know. He used to have some sort of name because he didn't want to claim her fully and say, this is my girlfriend. She was connected to Diddy for a long time. And yeah, that's pretty much her resume. Making mid-provocative, hyper-sexualized music and doing freaky things with the diddler. So that's who that is. And basically they're bantering, joking back and forth about, possibly having a little something. And she's 31. He is now 56.
Feel good?
It feel good.
You ever date an older man?
Yeah.
How much older? What's the 5 years, 10 years? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm saying what?
Like 30, like 20, 30 years. Wait, let me see. If I'm 30, 20.
20 years. So that's 50. So 50 is cool for you. Half my age plus 7. Half my age, I'm about to be 57, so that'll be 28 and a half plus 7.
You about to be 57?
I'm about to be 57.
Okay.
57 minus 7.
That's 50.
Mind you, this is not a dating show. This is not one of those pop the balloon type show. This is supposed to be, I guess, professional interview. I mean, it's entertainment at the end of the day, but it's a interview that he's having with this chick.
No, that's me. That's
So
doing
you
her
said
age.
57. You said.
No,
50.
I'm saying what you're supposed to, for a man.
Okay.
You do half his age.
Okay.
Plus 7. So half my age is 28 and a half. I add 7. That's 30. That's 7. That's 35 and a half. So 35 and a half minus 2.
35 minus 2?
Yeah. 33. You 30?
31.
31?
I just turned 31.
Just turned 31?
Yeah, I'm still celebrating my birthday.
Trying to
I hope y'all got me a cake.
You know,
Uncle Shay, let's not pretend. She's not your preference. That's what they say. That's what they're saying about you. That's what they're saying. They're saying that you only like them when it snows, which again, you know, that's your prerogative, like Bobby Brown said. But this is an interesting little back and forth going on.
I'm going to be honest with you, Creature. I'm trying to work the math in my head. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm working the math in my head.
I'm a little good with mine, now.
How we
can
get
add this up.
How we get to that 31, Joe? How we get to 31? Okay, maybe we add an extra year. Half my age plus 8 minus 4. Right on time. That's 31 right there.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Are you willing to settle? You ready to settle down?
I feel like going into my 30s, yes, because I got 2 kids. I'm 31. Life getting a little serious.
That's a whole nother conversation of this ghetto culture. It's like, you know what? Now that I got 2 kids, I don't know if it's the same father. Hopefully it's the same father, but let's just say for the sake of conversation, it's not. You know, I got 2 kids now. I got 3 kids. You know, I think I'm 30. It's time for me to settle down. Instead of thinking, it's hustling backwards, right? We've been trained to think so backwards. Have the babies, have the whatever it is, you know, lay up with the person and then get married all the way down the road or think about marriage all the way down the road. It's supposed to be marriage minded and then having the family in that context. Sure, I know it doesn't happen like that in many cases, especially in the modern day, but that's the way I believe it works best because it has worked best throughout time. The commitment first and then build family in the context of that as opposed to laying up and, you know, whatever it is. So, yeah, it's real interesting to say the least.
kind of be a family. You know, like my son father is deceased, like he died, and it's like I'm raising a son of my own. I want him to have a father figure. I want him to have like some type of male figure in his life. So it's like I can't just be a fun girl running around
Right.
as a city girl.
Right.
Life got to get serious, and I think like going into my 30s, I'm at that point.
Okay. I actually had one more clip I wanted to show you guys that just came to mind. Something that I actually saw this morning. It's a very short clip. I'm gonna let it play out, and then we'll wrap this whole thing up. So this is Shannon Sharpe once again, aka nephew Shay Shay, with Chad Ochocinco, who is also ex NFL player, likely Hall of Famer, as well as Gilbert Arenas, who is an ex-NBA player. So this is a podcast known as The Nightcap, another one of Shannon Sharpe's podcasts with his co-host Chad, and I think Gilbert is just visiting. This dude has his own podcast. Every damn athlete has a podcast. But anyway, this is a clip that speaks volumes. So let's go ahead and let that play out.
You know who Sky Bree is, Ocho?
Sky Bree? Who that is, Coach?
Yeah. How I do it. How I do
Hey,
it.
Sky, I mean, who is that? Who is that? Help me out.
You know what I'm saying? She little something. She might be famous for vertical activity that she's good at.
Oh, she a hooper?
Oh, yeah.
Who she play for? Who she play for?
She got her own little thing,
Huh?
Man, y'all need to stop, man. Y'all be on that bullshit, man.
Hold on. Who she play for?
Back in the day, she could have been on my team.
She played for on her back.
Like, these are all grown-ass men, allegedly. So let me go ahead and show y'all who this chick he's talking about is. Oh, look, all you need. 26 years old. Interesting. That's her right there. Boom. That's her right there. Now again, people can make the choices that they want. That's not what this conversation is about, but it is about the reality of what leads to this. Why would somebody not have the natural tendencies and desires? Oftentimes there's fear, right? If somebody might run me for my paper, might do this, might do that. But guess what, buddy? You chose not to settle down, not to actually be stable and create a foundation for yourself and, have all your 7 or 8 kids or whatever it is at this point to come together under a household. But instead you chose to have fragmented parts of your family and you chose not to settle down, and you still end up in the biggest lawsuit of your entire life. Like, that's the reality, right? Again, we want to talk about, well, women will take you to the cleaners. Not every single one of them, but let's say, okay, there's a chance of that. Sure. You are now being taken to the cleaners for more than 50% of your net worth. Your entire career has been compromised. You're now about to lose brand. I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to happen. Brand sponsorships for all these podcasts, which are raking in probably millions of dollars. Your job at ESPN, which is probably maybe your main source of income, if not one of the main sources of income. Your brand is now tarnished. So most big brands won't want to work with you because of this. Again, I watched an incredible, breakdown of why it is that some controversial figures basically never get canceled while others do. And it's simply because when you put up an image of something that you're truly not, like a Tiger Woods, right? You put out that sort of image consistently. When your scandal breaks, everything else breaks as well. Don't matter. He was the greatest golfer ever. And it was all gone because he demonstrated one thing, but something else showed. However, let's say a guy like Snoop, right? You've always known Snoop to be, quote unquote gangster, blunt totingist, whatever it is, right? That's just his character. So if there is some sort of, allegation of drug use, it's like, okay, another day in the life of Snoop. It's not going to be a big thing. The brands will not leave. The brand is not tarnished. His brand has not tarnished itself, etc. So with the Shannon Sharpe Club Shay Shay, you're supposed to be a more wholesome brand. That's why ESPN would even, associate and affiliate with you, allegedly. As long as it's not out in Front Street. But now that it is, it's damn near over. So what did you gain for what you're about to lose right now? And for me, in my perspective, I would say you gained absolutely nothing. You might have clapped cheeks, right? You might have been able to brag to your boys like this to say that you're laying up with, 26-year-old Instagram quote unquote influencers or OnlyFans quote unquote models. But what else is there? What else is there besides a $50 million lawsuit on your head just when you're about to sign a $100 million check, which it might even fall through at this point, and now you might not even be able. If she wins or you settle out of court like you were about to with $10 million plus at first, damn it, you might go to broke. And I don't wish that on any man, but again, this is the reality of when you don't create a stable foundation and you continue to be ruled by your own lust and your own, I guess, sexual perversion. Cut the freak, dirty, nasty stuff out of your life. Simple as that. You're always going to be better off for it. It does not make you more of a man. The more women you lay up with does not make you a man. It actually makes you undisciplined and unregulated and frankly untrustworthy. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.